o'clock somewhere. Let's throw it to Joe Castello.
Thank you very much, Lake. We are over here. What a great way to finish up our day number 2 of the Engine Performance Expo. We are closing in, and what a better way to do it than with a beautiful race car. We've got Troy LaCrone and Jim Gray. This car is known, it's been on Memphis Street Outlaws. Now, I'm an NHRA guy, I admit it, but the popularity of no prep racing, grudge racing, at Hot Rod Drag Week is something that you cannot deny, and anybody that loves cars loves this. So Troy, tell us a little bit about this. First of all, as is the case with a lot of cars that are on Drag Week, deceptively fast because they're beautiful. Like this looks like a show car with a giant engine.
Yeah, we're pretty meticulous with the car. We keep it nice. A lot of people don't see it as a race car when they come up on it, but that's just because we take care of it. You know, we do a lot of different events with it, a lot of cruising. We've done Drag Week twice, and do a lot of outlaw and grudge racing. And
the car has got a name, something that's kind of a old school funny car thing that has come back in the grudge and no prep world. What's the name?
Blue Mansness.
Nice, yeah. Nice. And Jim, you are what are you? You're the tuner, you're the engine builder, you keep it running. Tell me about some of the things you do on this machine.
I feel like I'm just part of a really blessed team that gets to have a lot of fun doing our passion and what we love. We all work good together as far as engine builders. I am building the new engine at Bullet Racing Engines for it, but as far as all the stuff that we've done up to this point, it's all been 100% team effort, no matter who assembles stuff or whatnot. I do most of the nitrous tuning. That's something that's been my passion for my whole life, and we've been pretty successful with it.
Now, I know everybody out there is going to have questions. There's going to be a time for questions for these guys. It's kind of cool because we've been talking about engines and building power and getting to the power to the ground, and it's been a theory, and this is like the actual application. So let's talk a little bit about this whole no prep grudge scene that you guys are involved in. First of all, just have you been surprised at how popular it has become? Obviously, like cars, you want to have a fast car, but now there's a scene where you've been able to really dive in.
Yeah, and for us, we've been doing this since we were kids. I started racing at 14 years old. And, for a long time, it was just something we did because we loved it and we had a passion for it and we liked grudge style racing. So to see it now be what it is today, if you had asked me 20 years ago, would this be going on, I never would have believed it. But yeah, it's very popular. It's grassroots. It's just like throwback 1960s stuff. And that's what we dig. We don't like staging lanes. We don't like lines. We like to just get down and let the cars work it out. And it's a perfect venue for us.
And when you think about what it takes to do that, given that you're going to have an inconsistent track surface, you don't really know conditions-wise, that's got to put an extra bit of challenge on you, Jim, as the guy who's got to figure out the calculations. Of course, you want Troy to be safe out there. So take us through some of that process of tuning the nitrous and making sure a car like this can be reliable, but also fast.
It's a pretty complex process, actually. I mean, you have to read each road different, you have to read each track surface different, and it's not always a one-size-fits-all. I mean, some of the cars that we race against make 3,000, 3,500 horsepower, and some of them make 800 and 900 horsepower, and both can have the same result if you can read the road and tune it correctly. And when we show up to race, the stipulations and conditions are always different. So if you're going to race somebody, you have to really analyze your competition and decide how hard you need to be on it, because you have to go A to B to win a race regardless of what the stipulations are. And if you over the power of the road, you can lose for a car that's got half the horsepower. We saw that just last week on television. There's a certain television show, it takes 3,000 horsepower to get to the end result, but the end result takes 1,200 to win it.
Well, exactly, and I think that's been part of the popularity. My deal, I obviously coming up when, and I believe that NHRA, Top Fuel, Pro Stock, etc., is it's a pinnacle of the sport of it. But this is entertainment, as in you got to see what happens next. And the personalities are a big part of it. I think there's a lot to learn from it, where there's egos involved, and it's not necessarily according to a certain spec. You can still have a little bit of creativity, imagination, and personal preference. Like, for instance, tell us a little bit about this combination, Troy.
Yeah, we're a nitrous car. We run a 632 big block Chevy, 2 stages of nitrous. Always been nitrous my whole life, so that's kind of what we're into. And back to the surface, I mean, I live in the country, so my little test spot near my house is a chip and seal bridge with potholes, metal expansion joints, gravel, dust, and the theory is if I can get the car to go down that, I'm pretty golden everywhere else. So it's a great proving ground, and we go down some pretty sketchy roads, and I can run a 4-second pass across that surface, and that's hard to hang with. So the worse conditions, the better for our car. We like the stuff that's not prepped and real bad conditions. That's our best shot at winning.
This is very interesting to me because there's two angles that I appreciate. One, the limited prep, but also two, the fact that you drive the car. And that makes it a real and a genuine car. And I know Hot Rod Drag Week and those folks who've been out there many times and had some great success out there. Talk about what it takes to prepare a car that is quick and fast to also drive many miles.
Well, as an engine builder, we always hope that we build this product to go out to the racetrack and run a pass down the racetrack and shut off at the finish line and tow it back and be able to read spark plugs and check valve springs and everything else. And that's not this world. So the maintenance and routine that we have to teach people that have stuff like this is really complex, because sometimes they run lots of miles to get to the racetrack on drag week, or they run many rounds back and forth before you can ever pull the hood off to take a spark plug out. So the maintenance is really critical on teaching people to do it when they can, because you can't always do it like we would hope.
What kind of reactions do you get from the car? I know that's one. Okay, it's a Gen 1 Camaro. There's a lot of them, but you've put a lot of yourself into this car. So, what kind of reactions do you get? What kind of emotions does it pull out of people?
Yeah, kids love the car. I don't know why, but we had an accident a while back, and just seeing all the kids come out of the woodwork, we gave little pieces of the car away, and we sent them all over the world. So we, for some reason, kids dig it. And then when we do drag week, which really isn't grudge style racing, drag week is NHRA tracks, but that's something else that we do. One thing that people don't understand is drag week will weave through little middle America towns all over the place, and everyone lines up on the street in lawn chairs and watches us go by, and that's just like pretty cool to see. And you're influencing the kids when they're all out there and they love it and they dig it, and that's the next generation. So we love that stuff. We take a lot of pride in giving them a show.
All right, so I want everybody, if you got questions for Jim or Troy, time to put them up now as we come down the stretch. And I don't know, guys, we might have to fire this thing up, so stick around to the very end. You did mention that you had a bit of an incident, though. We're not able to get it up on video right now, but it is out on social media, and I just watched the video. That was not a little bit of an incident. Troy, walk us through, throughout the testing process, every now and again, the racer is going to be dealing with something that is unforeseen. You certainly had that moment. I encourage everyone to go to the social media Troy's about to tell us about.
Yeah, we were testing for an upcoming race, and on a pretty slick surface, asphalt. We made a pass first thing off the trailer. It was beautiful. We looked really smart, and it wasn't, we didn't have a ton of power in it. It was kind of an A to B pass, which we always try to do first. So we made some tune-up changes, added more power than we thought, as it turns out. And then the surface, a couple other guys were testing, so they had put some rubber down. And I left the line and the car went straight for the bumper. My go-to move on that is just click it in second gear and the ratio will calm it down, it'll come down. I forgot I had a new engine with more power, so I kicked it into second gear and it made it worse. And ended up going about 100 mile an hour in a wheelie, about 200 feet out. Had to lift because it was veering off the track, broke the wheel off and just started barrel rolling. So it was a rough day, and the car did its job. The guy that builds my chassis, Billman Fabrication, I got out of the car, not a scratch. I'm a little old to be jostling around that much. It felt like maybe after a football game, but everything did its job. And then we thrashed next day at the house. I had the whole team there. Everyone agreed to fix the car, and the car was back on the road in about 4 months because we wanted to do drag week in 20 before it got canceled due to COVID. So yeah, it was a rough day, but what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we regrouped and rebounded, and the new car's a little nicer, so gave us a good excuse to upgrade.
There it is, good excuse to upgrade. Everybody remember, don't ever waste an opportunity. And where can they see that? You got to be sure to tell them your social.
Yeah, I have a Facebook page. Please don't friend request me on Facebook. I have about 15,000 requests, and I don't take any more because I'm maxed out. But on social media, I have a Facebook page that's a racer page. So just look me up, go to the racer page, follow the car there. We have a pretty good following. And I post everything, all our racing updates and everything go onto that page.
Good problem to have, by the way. Like, you got too many friends. You know, it's too much. It's too much. Now, Jim, in an incident like that, there's something to learn from every problem. You know, you want to fail forward, and so you don't have that issue again. What was to be learned from that issue?
Well, as Troy alluded to, the surface we were testing on was really tricky. And we went up and all were in agreement about what we thought we saw, and the power increase that he talked about, we really only increased the power about 50 horsepower. But it was the percentage of ramp rate that the horsepower came in that got us, combined with the little bit of rubber that was there. And under normal circumstances, Troy would have put it in high gear, it would have set right down, it would have been no problem. We've been there a million times with it. But in this instance, the engine makes so much more torque, the increase in power was greater than in the past, and it got out of hand, and so that was what to learn. We all regrouped to look at more things before making a change like that, even if it's little bitty.
I watched the video, and it's like a drag radial style wheelie, let's put it that way. So you're a nitrous guy. There's a lot of different power adders out there, and it's almost as if there's a certain attitude associated with the power adder. There's the turbo guys, there's obviously the blower guys. You said I've always been a nitrous guy. Why?
It's not. I've had other like new edge cars that were turbos and stuff, so I have nothing against that kind of power adder either. But it's just what I grew up on. I'm familiar with it. You get a car built around it, and then you decide to change midstream. There's a lot of changes involved. Frankly, I have a relationship with Induction Solutions, Steve Johnson, who's an excellent nitrous company. We're close friends. Jim alluded to our team. Everyone that is a part of this car is family. I mean, we have grown together. Guys helped me when this car ran 10s in a quarter mile, and now it's a 6-second car, and we're with the same group of guys. So we've grown together, and we have a lot of loyalty and a family type feel to the team, and we just aren't willing to change it. So can't say enough about the whole team.
And Jim, Bullet Racing Engines, you're building a new power plant, and what's cool is that you guys have been hanging out all day, and we've been talking about Warren Johnson coming in, so much information being relayed that is all pertaining to what you guys are doing in competition out there. What has it been like to be a part of this and see some of the people, the questions, the answers, the information that has come down the pike throughout the first couple of days?
It's been really awesome, man. It's been overwhelming, to be honest. To be invited to even be a part of this or even witness it with the names that have been here is a blessing to me. To hear all the questions that people have, they have legitimate questions, because this type of stuff has been publicized on TV in the last few years by a great deal, and people are interacting with it. They want to know about it, and to hear all these greats like Kazi and Warren and everyone else that's involved just get in and answer the questions. I mean, I'm just blown away to be a part of it. It's awesome.
It was once described to me as the punk rock of drag racing, right? It's like rock and roll, but it's just that it's a different new phase of it. And the popularity, I think everybody owes a bit of gratitude to it, because once upon a time, like drag racing, we race cars, it goes in cycles, and this cycle is hot, it's popular, people are interested. Now you are out there, you've been on some of the TV shows, you've had success. What is that like being part of a show as opposed to a grudge race, being part of a show as opposed to drag week? You said, staging lanes, nobody loves waiting in a line, that's a bit of a bummer. That's a totally different thing. You're doing a race for a show.
Right. A lot of cameras, and it is a TV production, so that's a little weird if you're not used to it. And we talked about a little bit earlier, when the racing starts, it's just racing. I mean, it's real. You're paired up against someone, you bet money, the money's real. So we just try to focus on that part of it. There's, hustling, there's drama, all that stuff makes good TV. We're just racers. We're not, we try to stay out of all that. We just do our thing with the car and the racing piece. But yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's just racing. And I don't really think it's that much different, you know.
Well, and that brings me to my next question in terms of what technology is better for this style of racing. Less prep, maybe not no prep, because there is some prep. Certainly at the end of a shoot, you've had cars going down the racetrack a lot, you probably have to adapt with that. But what is unique to this? Like when you go to a no prep race or a grudge race, that you're relying on a certain part, certain piece, certain technology, certain way to manipulate that technology that's unique to the less prep style racing. Jim and then Troy.
To be honest, there's two types of it. There's the old school type that where we fit into on this team that runs Nitrous. We run a lot of basic stuff. We have minimal data acquisition. We read the road and we race old school. And then you have very high technology, very high horsepower cars that have traction control and every bell and whistle that you can think of. And you have to be able to read between the lines of what's going to work, because on a really limited surface, the less traction you have, this wins every time. Nitrous with less power, old school, doing it the old school way. If you get a lot of track surface on there where there's a lot of rubber down and grip, you can't hardly argue with the technology and the 3,000 horsepower and traction control. It's hard to beat.
And Troy, your answer to the same question.
Well, doing this all my life, I mean, I've had, you know, go back 20 years where we're getting ready to race and they're gluing the street and they're putting down prep and they're laying down rubber and they're doing all this stuff. To me, then you're making the street like the track, and that's track racing. So I prefer just old school, water burnout, line up and go, and that's where we fit in. You're racing the road more than the opponent. The road's only going to hold so much power. And where we fit in is figuring out how much and where can we bring in power all the way down through the pass. I mean, some places you might be able to leave pretty aggressively and then it won't hold on the big end. But it's racing the road and learning how to get the car to go down a sketchy surface. You know, some of the other surfaces in no prep, I mean, they'll hold 4,000 horse and guys are flying. We're not even competitive in that regard. We're more of a sketchy surface, throwback old school. We do pretty well then. You try to take a 4,000 horse car and put it down a chip and seal road with potholes, it ain't that easy. So some of those surfaces will not hold it. I don't care how much power you make. So.
And obviously we want to keep the rubber side down and the shiny side up.
Yeah.
So that is a big part of it. What about, you mentioned data acquisition, and that is a big part of it, but just surface to surface, track to track, race to race, the experiences you've had in the past, how do they inform your next event? Like, how do you guys keep track of all of that? Logbooks, data, and when you're out at a location, how do you record what's going on out there so you know what it was the next time? Are you taking photos? Do you track temp? What are you shooting?
We take slow-mo video up close of the car every pass. Have every pass since I've been involved with them. That helps greatly. But believe it or not, we've never had data acquisition on this car really up until the new engine and the new combo will have it. And
so no race pack.
No race pack. All the way into the 4-second range on really garbage road surfaces and whatnot. We've done it without any of that data. And so the new engine's going to make a lot more horsepower. It's going to be a handle to get down, and we will have it then.
Very exciting. And the grudge side of it, I've always found that to be interesting. My old days at Miami Hollywood Speedway and in South Florida, some of the most exciting things that would happen is you'd hear two guys would show up and it was on. It was a big deal. There was an intensity, there was an electricity about one run and trying to sort out who was going to get what at what time. Walk me through that process.
Yeah, it's an adrenaline rush. I mean, it's kind of like it's addictive. So I grew up on it. My dad did it. You know, it's been a lifelong thing, and it's just there's an excitement factor to it. And yeah, it's just what you said. You got one shot. You know, it's a big race. You've pumped it up. You're trying to win, and yeah, it's pretty intense. And back to the data, we're pretty meticulous. I mean, we might not have had a race pack till now, but we keep records of everything about every pass. I'm a statistical guy, so we'll do a lot of stats. We'll break down time slips. We'll look at splits. We'll really carefully watch 60 foots. So, you know, we just try to be meticulous about what we're doing, and we always try to come prepared. That's another thing I think our team's good at. We don't go to the street or the track to make passes to work on a car. We have the car prepared beforehand. When we show up, we want it to be like a well-oiled machine. So we do our homework.
I love hearing that. I spend a lot of time at the NHRA. I do a podcast called WFO Radio. A lot of podcasts got promoted this weekend. Please check out mine. And that is uniform, right? You win races at the shop. You don't win races at the track. Being prepared in advance is how you will be successful when you ultimately get to the racetrack.
Absolutely.
When we started working with Jim, because Jim does all of our Nitrous tuning, he started asking questions, so I just got out the logbook and said, this is every pass the car's ever made and all the details. And he just looked at me like, you're kidding me. And I said, no, it's all here. Anything you want to know is all written down, and you can go through it. And it really helped him come up to speed on what we had tried, what didn't work, so we didn't relive past mistakes. So we'll keep doing that. Even with the race pack and all that, we will keep doing a lot of manual records and a lot of stats on our own. In addition to the race pack stuff.
Excellent, excellent. All you folks out there, we got Q&A coming up, so if you've got a question for Jim or you got a question for Troy about the car, Grudge Racing, their time on TV, Drag Week, and we're bringing this day number 2 to our exciting conclusion, so don't go anywhere. Day 3 tomorrow, we're going to bring this whole Engine Performance Expo to an end. But Troy, like managing the car, you don't know how many runs you're going to make on a night. You're going to what are some of your work cycles? How long do you keep parts in? How long do you before you swap things out, etc.?
Yeah, that's another way we try to do the car. We try not to do anything that's going to need constant maintenance. We've looked at different combinations that require a lot more, and we have a budget. I mean, we're not a cost no object type team. So we look at the budget, we look at the timetable we're trying to hit, and we work with a good team that selects a combination from there. So the engine that's in the car right now will go 200 runs without being touched, unless yours truly screws something up. But maintenance is a big deal for us, and just trying to have a combination that lives and that we don't constantly have failures. We don't like failures. No one does. So the planning and the good combination and working with the right people, we tend to not have the carnage. So.
Yes, against carnage all around in this whole business. All right, everybody, now it's time for your questions for Jim and Troy about Blue Madness 2.0. The first one, is this an official 2.0 or is this still like 1.1?
Yeah, we got actually accused after the accident because the car was wadded up so bad. People accused us of actually buying another car and painting it and calling it the original car. It is the original car. The chassis main cage was unaffected by the accident. The front suspension was destroyed and part of the front frame. We fixed it. Beelman Fab did that. We sectioned a new body onto the old chassis, and then Tom Monahan, a lifelong friend that's a key team member, he did all the paint and body work, and we were back at it. So original car, just a lot of updates, a lot of changes in a relatively short period of time.
Yes, very short. And then of course we had our pandemic, so you didn't get to race it. That's such a racing story. You rush to the track and get rained out. But all right, first question, this one coming from Joe. Thank you, Joe. Joe's been active all day long. We've had so many of our viewers, listeners out there who have been just putting up great questions all day long. They obviously do not have jobs, but that is okay. Wants to know, what transmission does this car have? What do you run?
Hutch 400. We run a 3-speed because of all the quarter-mile stuff we do. 210 first gear. And we'll probably stay with the 3-speed on the new engine as well. If we were running 8th mile, we would switch to a 2-speed, but we like that third gear. I also have a gear vendor overdrive, so when I'm on the highway, we can cruise 80 mile an hour at about 2,300 RPM.
One of our people out there says that Jim builds cool stuff. Is he hiring? Are you hiring?
Yeah, we actually are.
It's Ben Strader. He wants to know if he can come to work for you.
Ben, come on, brother.
That's great. Are you adjusting the chassis depending on the grip, or just changing the amount of power up or down?
No, both. You cannot take, say, a tight track with because, you know, say we're doing drag week and we're on a tight track with a good surface, you cannot do either one. You can't run the street chassis settings at the track whatsoever. You'll wreck the car, you'll go into tire shake, and you also can't run the track settings on the street. So you have to tune the chassis to the surface that you're on. We even adjust the chassis on a bad track versus a good track. So we read the conditions and make the adjustments. If it's close, we can handle it with shocks and front travel. If it's grossly different, then we'll make a 4-link adjustment.
Okay, that's where I was going with that. I know you don't want to give away actual details, but every car is different. Like, what are the adjustments track versus street? Like
if you're going down, I don't mind giving a little bit away, but if you're going down a really bad surface, and this is old school, but it's how I do it, you want a lot of transfer. You want stored energy, so when you release the trans brake or foot brake, you have a lot of energy stored. Front end will come up, you'll plant the rear tire, and then the job at that point is to keep it planted. You don't want bouncing, you don't want drama. You want to be back on the tire planted, and the car accelerate and bring on the power as much as the road will handle it. But you know, we'll run ballast in the rear if we have to, and we'll do timing management to take power out and work on the amount of nitrous we leave on. But you definitely, on real bad conditions, you want a lot of energy in that front end, and you want to plant that tire.
Excellent, excellent. What kind of racing oil do you use? Asks Larry Jeffers.
That's a great question. We run Extreme brand products racing oil, and it is exclusively all we use at Bullet Racing engines, and we put it in all of our Pro Mod builds, and we put it in everything virtually. It's the best oil that I've ever used, and you guys can go on Facebook and go on the internet and check it out at extremebrandproducts.com. It's fantastic stuff. We've got lots of testimonials on there. Feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook or whatever if you'd like to know more about it, and I'll get you contacted with our oil rep, Ed Briggs, and he can get some in your hands.
Awesome. Yeah. The Facebook page. Dylan wants to know, what's the name of the page? He's out there trying to search right now.
It's Troy LaCrone - Drag Racer Outlaw Racing Grudge Racing or something. It's actually too long, but
I have that same problem.
Yeah, I need to shorten it, but yeah, yeah. Check it out, like it, follow it, and all of our updates are always there.
Alan says, did he say clutch turbo 400? ? Like an old Winters or Fairbanks with a stick style clutch. Those are cool, but I don't think you said that.
Hutch. He's a builder in Canada that does a lot of extreme transmissions. He built it for us.
Excellent. How many passes do you make a year with the car?
Depends on if I wreck it.
On a normal non-wreck year.
Yeah, on a non-wreck year, I mean, we try to go, you know, we're probably out 5-6 times a month.
That's a lot.
And, you know, and I'll make laps. If I can get 10 runs in on a test day, then I'll take 10 runs. We never worry about making a pass like some folks. We love to race, so we'll as much. And I have a real job, a regular job, so as much as work commitments allow to.
Excellent. And Sage, who has been doing some social media for us throughout the event, has put your Facebook, long as it may be, in the chat section so everybody
Sweet.
can follow along, like the racing page. Is there anything else you want to throw out there on the table for the people that are watching here at Engine Performance Expo, drag racers, road course racers, everyone? This scene is probably the most fresh and energetic maybe in all of motorsports that we've seen, certainly in the last 10 years, something new coming on the scene. You're here to rep. What would you say to the folks out there?
Kind of really back to what Jim said. I mean, my advice is find people you can work with and build relationships with, and then treasure and take care of those relationships. I mean, we're blessed, and we've went pretty far in this thing due to our team, due to the people that help us. And you know, it's not based on how smart I am, that's for darn sure. So surround yourself with good people, have good relationships, and don't just automatically start changing everything. I mean, when you have a problem, don't abort the entire mission and start over. Figure out the problem, address that, and keep advancing forward. Too many times I see people just throw in the towel and totally start over with something different. They never actually get ahead. So we're just chipping away at this thing, keep getting a little bit faster each year, and work with the same group of folks that have helped us in the past that'll take us into the future.
That's great advice. That's good. Stay at it. Brian, I think you said it. Brian wants to know and I think you said it earlier, how many passes before you freshen the engine? Did you say 200?
Yeah, this engine, I'm not saying I would run it 200 without looking at it, but everything's designed to go around 200 runs. We wouldn't change the rods before 200. It doesn't have that many passes on it now from new, but and that's where Jim comes. If Troy was tuning it, maybe around 5 runs before I would probably kill a piston. But when you get a good nitrous tuner like Jim and a good system like Induction Solutions, and you keep it right, then I don't worry about the engine. It'll go a lot of runs without touching it.
But isn't that part of success, is knowing your strengths and your less strengths, I won't say weaknesses necessarily, and bringing the people that are strong in that area?
Absolutely. And what I'd say to everyone out there is you have to put in the time to get here to do this. You know, we make a ton of passes at the racetrack. We make a ton of passes on marginal surfaces, and we make a ton of dyno pulls at Chris Nowak Racing on his engine dyno, where he helps us a ton. And we put in a ton of effort to get to this point. And the guys that watch the TV shows and see that stuff out there, it's deceiving, because you can buy the same parts on Monday that you saw Monday night on the internet, but that doesn't make it work. It takes a ton of effort to get it to this level.
And so let's finish off on that note, in that there are people who aspire to be involved in what we're all involved in, but there has to be a first step. And so you guys are doing it at a high level. Everyone here is doing it at a high level. There's someone out there who's watching today, or knows someone who's watching today, or has seen you guys on the show, or has been to Drag Week and seen it. Like, what is a good entryway for someone who is not at your level yet, but they have aspirations and they want to have a good time?
Well, it's pretty simple. You need a good plan. I mean, you need to sit down ahead of time and figure out your budget, how fast do you want to go, who you're going to work with, and not rush the planning phase. I mean, because I think guys get going down a road and then realize, the plan needs to radically change. And walk before you can run. I mean, as I said, this used to be a 1060 car in a quarter mile, and we had a lot of fun with it when it ran 1060s. So chip away at the ET, Rome wasn't built in a day, walk before you can run, and stick to it. And like Jim said, we put in the work. There is a work element, but it doesn't really feel like work if you love it.
Excellent, and I appreciate it. But now, listen, they told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen. We're going to fire this car. Troy, can you get in this bad boy, fire it up to end the day? That's what we want to do. Jim, you've got to be fired up. This is going to be awesome. Folks, tomorrow, day 3, final day, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be back here. John Kazi, celebrities all day long. Lots of great information. It is going to be awesome. Lake Speed Jr. going to be back. We're all going to be back. And we're going to bring this Engine Performance Expo to a close. Remember, all the videos are all there for you to watch. All the stuff yesterday, Warren Johnson, Ed Pink. It's all going to be up, and it is all going to be great. My name is Joe Castello. You can follow me on Twitter at WFO Joe. People have had questions for me all day long. Troy is in there getting ready. He's getting the fuel pump set, and we are about to see 632 cubic inches. Are you ready to go, sir? All right, everybody, it's about to get loud. They said... What a day, what a day, what a day. My brain is swollen. I've learned so much today. They told us, don't start cars. We are not going to listen.